He's speaking about reflection, page 162. He said in the second paragraph, let's start over again. Vasheni. The reason why people have difficulty being appreciative, although they believe in God, but to be appreciative for all the endowments and what Hashem does on behalf of a human being, people somehow they just gloss over it. Why? See, he said, when a person enters into this world or comes out into this world, it's like an animal without any intelligence, or like a wild donkey. It's like a person is born like that wild donkey, without any intelligence. An infant is born to this world. And a person develops and matures with an abundant, an excessive level of goodness from Hashem. All right. There's a review for you. So you got one. There's one down there. And a person continuously is involved in continuously benefiting from all Hashem's goodness. Until it becomes taken for granted. This becomes ordinary. As if they were innate. Bilti soros mi'itam. It's not meant to cease. V'lo nifrados mehem. Kol yemeim. Like, person has good health. You think it's forever. Person gets a little bit older, you realize it's not so simple. You have to be more careful. Can't take anything for granted. And only when it's too late, then you stop. Then you appreciate what you no longer have. I remember my first year in New York. So I went back to Baltimore to visit my Rosh Yeshiva. He was about like 87 years old. And I took the Amtrak down, spent 2 hours in my Rosh Yeshiva, and came back to New York. So I met some of the students there, some of the married people. He said, you made the trip? Spent 2 hours, traveled each way 3 hours, spent 2 hours with Yeshiva. I said, when you're here, you don't appreciate what you have. When you leave, then you appreciate what you have. I said, it's worth the trip. It's worth the trip even to spend 2 hours. Traveling 6 hours for 2 hours, it's worth the trip. Because it's only, when you back off a little bit, then you start appreciating what you have. But you have it day in and day out. The Gemara says in Brachos that when Rav passed away, Rav was the leading Torah sage in Bavel. So his students, they went to the funeral, and he was buried. On the way back, there was a question. They were traveling, and there was a question with a zimun. Because they were traveling, they broke bread, and they had to say Bir Samozon. So are they permitted to what? Traveling, is that called a kvius? Is that considered similar to a quorum? Because they're moving. Is that called a kvius to have a zimun? They didn't know. Rav just passed away just hours before. Immediately when they realized they didn't know, it says they taught Kriya. All the Talmidim, they taught Kriya. Why? Because they realized when Rav was there was no questions. Everything was, you had an answer, you had a solution for everything. Now all of a sudden, you're in a quandary. Before you were never in such a quandary. Rav's not here just for a short period of time, now you're in the dark. You're totally confused. It's the Gemara in Brachos. Whatever, it's irrelevant what it is. No, it says it was a kvius. It was a kvius. It was. They could. What? Yeah, but it was. No. Whatever it is. You don't even realize when you ask a question. It's always there. When a child asks for a parent for something, you're living in your house. Does the child even realize that the parent's giving? You're out of the house now. You're covering your own expenses. And sometimes there's a shortfall. You realize you call your parent, maybe you could fill in the gap. Now you understand they're filling in the gap. But before they were covering everything. There was more than filling in a gap. But before you didn't understand what they were doing. Now all of a sudden you understand what they're doing for you. I had the experience, when Rebbe Yosha was alive and when he wasn't alive. With the certain questions, what was the question? I forgot. Somebody asked me. What was the question? Recently. Said they went to Reb Chaim, they went to this one. I said, something, that kind of question, it's not dependent how much you know. It's based on the dimension of the person. A person, Rebbe Yoshev, was like a world-renowned posek. It's a whole different mind. It's not how much you know. It's the way you approach something and to give that level of decision. That's what it is. And if that person's not here, he says this way. He says, oh yeah, I remember the Shaila. I remember the Shaila. This was the Shaila. You have an avocado, okay? It's supposed to be healthy, right, David? Okay? That with wasa crackers for breakfast. Okay? Avocado. So the halacha is if you have two fruits, okay? You have two fruits. And you want to, or two vegetables, and you want to eat both of them. And which one, and they're not the same species. Baruch Hashem, we have a Kohen here to help us on this Shaila. Okay? And you have, and the question is, which one do you say the bracha on? The halacha. What is the determining factor? What is the determining factor? You have two vegetables or two fruits. One is, you have an interest to eat both of them, and you have a desire for both of them. Or which one do you say bor pri'etz, or which one do you say bor pi'adama? Right? They're both choviv. He has an interest in both of them. So the halacha is that then it would be the larger of the two. See, if one is, you have a greater interest in eating one over the other, that takes precedence over the other. That's when you should say the bracha. But if you have interest in both, whichever one is larger, that's the one you should say the bracha on. Physically larger. Like, let's say you have two pieces of bread of equal quality. One's a larger slice, one's a smaller slice. A larger roll, a smaller roll. You should take the larger roll. If you have an interest in eating both, you should say the bracha on the larger roll, rather on the smaller roll. Okay? So the question was, you have an avocado where the majority of the avocado is the pit, right? You don't eat that. It's not edible. So do you look at that as being part of the fruit, right, or the vegetable? Or do you see that you only look at the edible part as the fruit? So you may have something physically smaller, but since in terms of edibility, the smaller, there's more to eat rather than the larger, so which is larger, which is smaller? That was the question. So they went to ask Reb Chaim Kanevsky. He said one thing. They went to ask somebody else. He said something else. Whatever it is. This person was telling me. So I brought a proof from something. So I said, this kind of question, you could hear both sides. But the definitive position, you need a person like Rabbi Yosha to rule on it. Just was reading, Rabbi Yosha gave a psak on something, and somebody said, it seems to be, it's contrary to Reb Kiveger. Reb Kiveger says something differently. So they looked in Rabbi Yoshev's Gemara on that particular subject matter. Rabbi Yoshev brought a certain proof. Reb Kiveger brought a certain proof, and on the side of his Gemara, Rabbi Yoshev writes, although Reb Kiveger brings proof from there, there's an explicit Tosus Rosh that says differently than Reb Kiveger, and that's why Rabbi Yoshev ruled like the Tosus Rosh. So evidently Reb Kiveger didn't have the Tosus Rosh. He didn't have that; it wasn't available to him. So therefore, if he ruled based the way he understood, he ruled differently. So again, you understand, it's a whole different dimension. As a posek, it's a whole different mind, how to see things. Okay. To be continued.